Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be taking a first impressions look at Isaro Watercolors. Isaro is a Belgian paint company that offers artisanal watercolor and oil paints named after its crafter Isabelle Roulavs. Their watercolors are made with gum arabic, glycerin, and acacia honey. Their website has standard information like the pigments used, light fastness, granulation, and opacity, but also some of the more detailed information like tinting strength, pigment family, and the percentage of preservatives that they use in each formula. Their watercolors commonly come in 7ml tubes, which I have here, but they also have 20ml tubes on their website as well. At the time of this recording, on their website, the 7ml tubes range in price from approximately $3.30 to $7 USD, with shipping to the US starting around $16 and a total of 77 colors to choose from. The 7ml tubes are also available on Jackson's for $4.50 to $9 USD. Shipping to the US varies depending on method, but it's usually between $4 and $24, and they carry 66 of the colors from their range. Isaro has several boxed sets available on their website, and Jackson's also carries the Jackson's selection of 10, which I purchased for this video along with 8 additional colors to fill an 18-well palette. In full disclosure, all of the footage in this video was taken way back in April and May of 2021, which at the time of this voiceover was more than a year ago. Many of you may remember that earlier last year, I was trying to prepare several videos that were going to be released during my medical leave over the summer. This is one of the videos that was filmed but never edited. I still hope that the information in this video is useful and that you don't mind that I'm getting it to you now, because better late than never. So these watercolors come in metal tubes with minimal labeling with hand-painted color swatches in acrylic glue, and they have an octagonal black plastic lid. I left in a bit of footage of the first tube that I opened, as it did give me a bit of a challenge and it might be a struggle for someone with hand strength or dexterity concerns. Eventually, I did get it open and did not splatter paint everywhere, so that's always a plus. These paints pour out beautifully, and most of the colors self-level in their wells, similarly to Schmincke's satisfying palette pours. I did have questions with 2 of the colors that I ordered, neither of which were in the Jackson's curated set, but rather ones that I picked out on my own. The first was nickel yellow. It smelled really foul and had separated from the binder. However, instead of being a clear or amber colored liquid, the separated substance was a murky dark brown, almost black. I was already on the fence about adding this color to my palette in the first place, and this added complication was eventually enough for me to cut it from the palette altogether. At the time that I was pouring this though, I wasn't sure if that was a valid concern, so I took a picture, sent it to the company, and then proceeded to mix up the well and move on with the palette. Isabelle replied saying that while separation is natural, but it should be clear. She suspected that there was a lack of preservative, but hadn't heard any other negative feedback. She did offer to replace my tube, however, given the environmental impact of both the pigment itself and shipping a single tube of paint overseas from Europe, I declined. The second color that I was perplexed about, I will show you in a bit during swatching, but for now, kick back, relax, and enjoy a nice palette pour. After I poured the paints into their wells, I allowed the palette to dry for a week before doing swatches. All of the paints dried beautifully with no cracking, minimal shrinking, and they all re-wet easily to moderately well. This first color, Chartreuse Yellow, I am re-wetting in real time so that you can see it activate and return to the saturated mass tone. This is a standard PY129 with a lovely rich green gold color. The brush I am using is the 1/2 inch Jackson's Studio Synthetic. You can assume that anytime you see me swatching with a 1/2 inch flat brush is this one. It takes me a few swatches to figure out how I wanted to show off these paints in this video, but I eventually come to a variegated wash so that you can see how the paints really interact with water. We're skipping the blank spot where nickel yellow used to be, which I still haven't replaced, and heading over to our true yellow on the palette, Isaro Yellow Light, PY154. Those of you who have been around for a while know that this is my favorite mid-yellow pigment that neither leans particularly warm or cool. This version is vibrant and straightforward. Next up, we have Scarlet Red PR255. My go-to for a mid-red on my palette is usually PR254, but I wanted to try out a warmer version for this palette. This leans more red-orange than PR254, but is semi-opaque like its Pyrrole red cousins. Scarlet Red may look like a mid-red on its own, but next to our next color, it very clearly leans orange. This is Isaro Pink made with PR122. It is a standard quinacridone magenta with a nice mass tone. As these swatches get looser, you may begin to notice that most of these colors really stay where you put them. For many people, that is a positive quality as they won't run wild on your paper. However, if you really enjoy flowy paints like Core, that may be one thing to consider with this brand. For the violet spot on this palette, I opted for Isaro Mauve made from PV19, which is similar in hue to other quinacridone violets made with the same pigment. They have a few other purples that are more purple, like Dioxazine and Ultramarine Violet. However, I have really come to enjoy mixing purples using this color with various blues. Next up, we have a standard ultramarine blue made from PB29. On its own, I'd consider this to be a lightly granulating ultramarine. However, when mixed with other colors, the granulation is more prominent, which we will take a look at in a little bit. Their cerulean blue, on the other hand, is a highly granulating color, especially when mixed with others. This cerulean is made from PB35, and I would consider it fairly neutral in terms of other ceruleans, neither leaning cooler or warmer. I generally prefer PB16 for my cool blue in a palette, but unless I missed it, Isaro does not have one in their lineup, so I opted for phthalo blue. It is a cool PB15 that glazes nicely. A more useful green would have been a phthalo green, but on my ongoing quest to find another color similar to Stone Ground Paint's Florentine green, I wanted to try out Isaro's chromium oxide green made with PG17. This is not like Florentine green, but is like most other chromium green oxides. It is a nice, smooth, opaque green that makes for interesting soft mixes. Their yellow ochre, made from PY42, is a bit heavier than I like my yellow ochres, but the golden hue is absolutely gorgeous and it glazes well. I do wish that this color and the next were next to each other on the swatch cards so that you could compare them more directly, but first up we have Oxide Orange, made from a semi-opaque PR101. This is similar to a Mars Orange and is notably smooth and fits directly in the description of an earth orange. Because I can't resist good earth tones, I also picked up the Burnt Sienna, made from PBR7. The Burnt Sienna is more brown and has more granulation than the Oxide Orange. Most people would probably be happy with either or on their palette, but I could easily find a place for both. Next, we're moving from Earth Orange to Earth Red with Venetian Red, made from PR101. Please note that I did not write the name incorrectly on the swatch chart. The tube I have does read Venetian with a second I, but it does look like it is now updated on the Isaro website to be Venetian with an E. If you are looking for it on Jackson's website, it still says Venetian with an I. But anywho, this is a brick red color that is deeper than an English red and less deep than an Indian red. Isaro has a lovely oxide purple. Made from PR101, this is similar to other brands' violet iron oxides or caput mortems. It is very heavy and opaque, but in a good way. I haven't compared it directly to other brands at this point, but it is a notably lovely color among the Isaro lineup. To round out our earth tones, we have Burnt Umber made with PBR7. This is a really beautifully granulating version of this color, and I look forward to using it in many more of my animal paintings. Done with earth tones, you say? But that says Van Dyke Brown. Well, yes it does, and yes, we are still also done with the earth tones. If my brain functioned like a normal human brain and could retain information, I might have remembered seeing another watercolorist on YouTube, Mandy, also confused by this color while swatching it out. But alas, my brain did not retain that information, so I ordered it anyway. When I was choosing colors, I wanted a sepia-like color, which Isaro does offer. Their sepia is a 3-pigment blend of PBK6, PY42, and PR101. They also had a slightly darker looking brown made from PR101 and PBK11. I liked the sound of that latter combination, so I went with that. However, to my surprise, in person, this color is very much a neutral black. I genuinely tried to find and see the browns. I took it into different lighting situations. I scanned it on my color calibrated computer. I do not see any brown in person or on the screen. Thinking this might have been an accidental labeling situation, I wrote Isaro again with the scan as well as the phone picture, and again promptly received a reply. Isabel confirmed that this was the correct color. She said it used to be more brown, but some watercolorists thought that it looked too much like her sepia, so she changed its shade. She suggested mixing it with an oxide purple or yellow ochre to shift the hue. I thanked her for her confirmation, but still remained confused. This is the slide here that shows you the Jackson's swatch, Isaro's swatch directly in comparison with the sepia and lamp black, my swatch in the background, and the label on the tube. I also set out to look for it in other video reviews, and that's when I came back across Mandy's video again and saw that she had the same questions. I'll link that video below as well. So in short, if you want sepia, order the sepia. It seems like they just haven't updated the images on the ordering websites, so just be aware of that. Moving on, the final color in the palette is Payne's Gray, which may be different from most other brands' version of the same name. This one is very blue and it granulates. It is a really lovely, cool, dark tone. Here is the full lineup, scanned in and color matched to the best of my ability. Overall, I'd say that soft is a good descriptor for this brand. While all the colors I have here are very saturated and pigmented, there's also this softness to them that isn't quite the same as vibrant colors from larger manufacturers, and I mean that in a good way. Alright, good golly y'all, this is a long video. Are you still with me? Good, let's try and get to some color mixes. I wanted to start off with some classic color mixes with ultramarine and burnt sienna. This mixture will get you a gray, but due to the granulation in the ultramarine, they do separate quite a bit on paper. Next up, I have 2 rows of Venetian red and cerulean blue in different proportions. My favorite gray mixture is Indian red and cerulean with Da Vinci and M. Graham paints, though it's hard to replicate in any other brands, which I fully expect at this point. Isaro is very similar to other brands in that respect, as the cerulean separates and settles into the groove of the paper and is very notable. It's very lovely on its own right, but isn't necessarily a smooth gray mixture. The next 3 are secondary mixes, including the vibrant purple that I mentioned, mixing the Isaro mauve with ultramarine blue, a vivid green mixed from chartreuse yellow and phthalo blue, and an insanely bright orange mixed from Isaro yellow light and scarlet red. I don't want to keep you locked into this video though forever, so here are the scans of a few more mixtures that I tried out. Quickly, from left to right, we have a brown mixed from scarlet red and chromium oxide green, a black mixed from oxide purple and phthalo blue, a grayish color mixed from oxide purple and cerulean blue, a greenish black from the chromium oxide and Payne's gray, a dark brown from burnt umber and ultramarine, and a pale peach from the yellow ochre and Isaro pink. Whew. Finally, to show off these paints in a bit of action, I have the first sketches that I did with these paints, and I do mean sketches. These chickens were painted using only a couple of colors each, using as few brushstrokes as possible. I had two goals with these little sketches. First and foremost, I wanted to show off how the color behaved outside of a swatch card. Secondly, at the time, I was playing around with these limited brushstroke sketches, which forced me as an artist to simplify form and value. I had a lot of fun with them, and I do try and remind myself of this exercise when I start to overwork other paintings. So here are my little sketchbook limited brushstroke jooks with Isaro Watercolors. I hope that this first impressions look, albeit long delayed, has some useful information for you, or at very least helped you to unwind a bit for today. I have used these paints a little bit since recording this footage, but not enough to do a full-scale review, so I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Have you tried out this brand, or are they on your wish list? What do you like most about them? And let us all know. You can find links to all the supplies in this video as well as the other video I mentioned in this video's description. Thank you so much for watching this video through to the end. For any interactions that you take with the video, whether that's a like, a comment, or sharing the video with a friend, and a very special thanks to my amazing patrons for supporting me throughout the year. I will see you in the next one, and until then, happy painting.